Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today we are going to take a look at Mercury making a trine to Mars as Mars turns direct. Now this is going to happen while Mercury's in the sign of Pisces right now and Mars is turning direct in Cancer after its long retrograde. This serves as a really important and interesting trine between these two planets because it really is marking the turn of Mars direct. When an event like that happens around the shift of a planet's direction, it can take on a lot of importance within the overall cycle. And it becomes a way of really understanding the transition that we're making to direct motion. So that's what we're going to look at today. I'm going to give you some themes to watch for this transit's coming over the weekend. And then tomorrow, we're going to spend time going through all 12 whole sign horoscopes for Mars direct and talk about some of the remaining work that might be there for us given the topics of the house that Mars is active in and given the remainder of the time that Mars will spend in Cancer, now moving in direct motion. We're coming to the end of this cycle, so a good time to refresh on the topics of the houses landing in our charts, which we'll do tomorrow. So today we will look at Mercury trining Mars as Mars turns direct over the weekend. Before we get into it, remember to like and subscribe. It really does help our channel to grow tremendously. We're seeing if we can't get to 80,000 subscribers on the channel. We have a month or so left to reach our goal. But as far as we can get toward that goal is great progress. So if you're not yet a subscriber and you listen, it's free to do so. And it really does help our channel and community. You can find transcripts of any of these daily talks on the website, which is nightlightastrology.com. There's one promotion that I have today. Take you over to the website, click on events page. The in-person event that I want to tell you about is the Spring Equinox Gathering. If you are here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and want to join us at the Grapevine Collective on March 8th, we're doing it just a little bit before the Spring Equinox because my kids are on spring break and we're going out of town. So we'll have this just before the Spring Equinox. We'll gather again to celebrate the changing of zodiacal seasons, set some intentions, do a little meditating together, a little movement, and some time for fellowship. It's free to attend. So RSVP, you can get all the details there. It takes you over to an Eventbrite page. If you go to live talks, you'll see that tonight I'm also giving a talk on Venus retrograde. It's called Venus Through the Fire, Unpacking the Mysteries and Magic of Venus retrograde. That is tonight from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. When you register, you'll get the link to attend the live webinar. And if you can't make it, obviously, as always, we give you the recording so you can listen or watch on your own time later. So I hope to see some of you there. It's going to be a great talk that really also preps us for Venus's upcoming retrograde in Aries next month. We've got a lot of stuff coming in Aries next month. Holy cow. We'll be talking a lot more about that in the weeks to come. So for now, let's turn our attention to the real-time clock and let's take a look at this trine that's coming up as Mars changes directions. So you will see here, I have the last day of our week, February 23rd, Sunday, highlighted. And you will see that Mercury in the sign of Pisces is trining, moving through a trine to Mars in Cancer. And you'll see that little S next to Mars in Cancer. That means station. And so Mars is about to turn direct. That station means Mars isn't moving, and Mercury is picking up the trine while it's not moving, and then Mars turns direct right afterward. So if we move this forward by some hours, we'll see, oh, that's minutes. Let's go by hours. We're going to see that as the day goes on, you're going to see that that S turns black. And this now means that the station is reaching its turning point. And you'll see that by Monday morning, Mars is officially moving forward again. So that change of direction occurs Sunday into Monday, the 23rd of February into the 24th. And by Monday, Mercury's already at 19 degrees of Pisces, running right into a conjunction with Saturn. We'll be talking about that next week. But that does make Sunday a really important turning point where the trine between these two planets is effectively signaling the change of direction from Mars. Anytime something like that happens around a retrograde, it's important to pay attention to because that aspect will play a tremendous symbolic role in what the change of direction is all about or how it's occurring. So we're going to look at that today. I've got 5 things to watch for, as always. So one would be, this is the most basic thing, right? When Mars is changing direction in its fall in a water sign, and Mercury is trining it in Pisces from a water sign in the sign of its fall as well, you have the potential for something that's difficult emotionally or psychologically or even something that's difficult to talk about or something that's difficult to feel, reaching a point of resolution. Trines bring things together in ways that are generally harmonious. Trines are of the nature of Jupiter. So the potential for something beneficial, remember one of the words that we use to describe Jupiter is benefic, where we get the word beneficial from. And so we have Mercury and Mars coming into a beneficial trine while Mars concludes its retrogradation, which means that one aspect of its debility on an accidental level is now gone. That means Mars is getting better from just the technical level of its dignity. When those two things happen simultaneously, it's as though we are reaching a point of resolution. Although something has been difficult, also something's difficult to talk about, something's difficult to feel, there's been a process of dealing with something that has been challenging perhaps, but now there's some level of emotional resolution or the feeling of turning a corner somehow. So watch for that. Watch for things to start feeling like they're moving in a new or different direction, probably a little bit better, and maybe the feeling of resolving some complicated or negative emotions even. Number 2 would be a cathartic finale. Now, listen, when Mars and Mercury get together, sometimes words are hurtful or words can be sharp, or thoughts, even our internal dialogue might be a little aggressive or mean. Mars and Mercury sometimes just represent things like mean words, mean thoughts, negative emotions. But the two planets are again reaching a trine and Mars is changing directions. And so could this be a moment where there are acute, difficult things that are being said or felt, but by facing them and going through them, there is a kind of breakthrough. It's the same idea of a resolution, but maybe it's rather than resolving things nicely and tidily, there's a bit of a feeling of breakdown and breakthrough, a bit of that like crisis that leads to the healing moment. It's that moment where things that have been festering sort of boil over and there's a difficult conversation, but by the end of it, you feel like, well, that needed to happen. So watch for a little bit of an emotional catharsis around the end of the week. That would be Sunday, again, that you might be feeling this. Maybe Saturday, a little bit as well. Number 3 on my list is a turning point rooted in clarity and understanding. One of the things that Mercury and Mars are very good at is a kind of incisive, executive, mental, analytical level of understanding or intelligence. So when these two planets get together, there could be a point where you become very clear-minded about something, or very clear with respect to how you feel. How do I feel about something? How am I processing something? What decision do I need to make? What information is coming to light? And this information or this moment of clarity or understanding could lead to a kind of executive quality. Now I know what to do. A turning point can come because I know what to do, because I know what is real, or I know how I feel, or information is coming to light that makes something very easy to understand. So watch for a shift on the level of emotional or intellectual, rational understanding. Oh, I didn't see something, now I see it. Or again, maybe you're able to articulate something within yourself for the first time. Oh, I'm able to actually articulate how I've been feeling that I haven't had words for yet. So the combination of Mercury, Mars, and water can be about articulating things that are subtle or sensitive, or that exist in that subjective realm of feelings that sometimes don't make immediate sense to us. We're feeling things, we're not even really noticing it. You know, I can go through a whole day being in some kind of mood and not even really realizing that I'm in the mood. And then all of a sudden I do. And then if I sit with it, I can go, where did this come from? How did this, oh, that bothered me. Oh, wow. That, and then that understanding can lead to, well, I better do something about that. So I would look for feedback too that's coming from the environment, emotions, water. We talked about that earlier this week when Tina the Teardrop visited, right? Being instinctually and environmentally aware of what are creating thoughts, moods, feelings, and patterns, and the realization of what is or isn't healthy or good for us, or what is or isn't working, what is or isn't creating the right moods or the right balance mentally or emotionally. this understanding can emerge around an aspect like this and can then lead to a shift of direction. And in some ways, this may be a culminating point for the entire Mars retrograde cycle. It's as though we're putting a bow on maybe some of the biggest lessons that we've been here to learn during this period, dating all the way back to the fall of 24 in the Northern Hemisphere, anyhow, when we had Mars in direct motion through Cancer. Now, remember that Mercury is the messenger, and Mercury's contact with Mars can therefore represent a meaningful message. A meaningful message might be something that, again, like we've said, we're thinking or we're articulating internally, and the ability to put words and concepts and thoughts and create clarity and understanding around something that in some ways could be thought of as Hermes, the messenger, doing something within us. So you could think about it that way. But another way of thinking about it is just that messages can come through. When Mercury and Mars connect in a trine, it is as though maybe difficult or pointed or sharp or intense or important or poignant messages, especially on the emotional level, can suddenly present themselves. And that might be an email that you get, or it could be a letter in the mail, or it could be a communication or a synchronicity that occurs that you go, oh, the Hermes, the messenger, is speaking something to me. So watch for those kind of in dreams too, synchronistic messages, and the appearance of the messenger saying something that is probably powerful, cathartic, emotionally intelligent, subtle, and it may come through with strong moods or almost like emotional atmospheres that come along with it. So watch for that. That would be Sunday. You might be feeling this Saturday into Sunday again. But number 5 would be a shift within, which will come forth soon. Now, let's go back to the real-time clock for just a second to remind ourselves of something which we have talked about this week, earlier this week at length. That is the fact that at the time that Mercury is trining Mars, it is going to be just a few days away from making its appearance as the evening star, right about here. So by Wednesday of next week, we have Mercury coming out into the visible sky. That 15-degree range will be satisfied, and Mercury is making its appearance as the evening star, which means that Mercury is trining Mars from the last days and moments of its invisibility. We talked at length about the importance of understanding when planets are working together and one is invisible and then shortly after becomes visible. This can mean that all or any of the things we've talked about today might be happening behind the scenes, or ways that are relatively secret or subtle or invisible. And then those shifts may have more overt consequences or appearances in the next week, especially by the middle of next week. So if you're noticing some powerful things shifting around sort of beneath the surface, watch for those things to become much more clear and explicit by the middle of next week, when Mercury comes out to show itself in the evening sky, essentially. That 15 degrees of separation is an average under which we usually see a planet make its appearance. So just with that basic number in mind, this is a Mercury that is trining Mars as Mars turns direct, and then Mercury shortly after will make its appearance. It is as though there might be something subtle or secretive or hidden or rather invisible about what's taking place that will then show itself or be seen or felt by, say, the middle of next week. So I wanted to end with that piece of symbolism because it does play on what we were talking about earlier in the week when we looked at Mercury squaring Jupiter, which you remember was also happening as Mercury then comes forth. So Mercury is bringing a number of very important aspects into visibility in this week ahead, which will make it a very interesting week, and a week where a lot of people will scratch their heads and go, well, what aspect is that? Well, it's aspects that have already been formed that are being carried into the realm of visibility. And that's a simple thing that if we learn to track and pay attention to, can be very meaningful in terms of your ability to identify and understand aspects and not misassign them to other things. Which is something that we frequently do because we miss those little nuances, which ancient astrologers paid a lot of attention to. Mercury's appearing. Its appearance, especially coming off from a couple of intense aspects, one with mutual reception, one as Mars is turning direction, carrying that into the realm of visibility is going to have a big impact as the next week goes on. So just take all the things we're saying today and remember that some of them may actually come forth into a way that's very clear and visible by, say, Wednesday of next week. All right, on that note, I hope we've given you guys some good things to consider for this transit over the weekend. Again, we have Mercury trining Mars on February 23rd, that's Sunday, followed by Mars turning direct on the same day, and then Mercury carrying forth into visibility by middle of next week. So I will leave it there. Remember, we have that webinar tonight. If you want to come learn about Venus's retrograde, learn about the phase of Venus in your birth chart and all of the unique meanings symbolically of Venus's cycle, this will help you take your understanding of a retrograde far beyond the basic cliches and stereotypes that we bring when we talk about retrogrades. There's so much more when you understand and unpack the entire cycle of Venus. So hopefully this will be useful for you, both as students and people prepping for Venus's retrograde in Aries next month. Head over to the website, nightlightastrology.com, click on the events tab, the live events drop-down menu, and then you'll see the registration for the talk tonight. I hope to see some of you there. And if not, remember, you could always get the recording to listen to on your own time. We will see you again tomorrow for horoscopes. We're going to look at Mars in Cancer, talk about what work may be remaining, lay out the remaining timeline for Mars direct through Cancer, and give you some topics to think about given the whole sign house it lands in your birth chart. All right, that's it. Have a good one. Bye.